now and then when I feel a bit buggy, I look at the floor, maybe need a new ruggy. Scratch that, I'll get some beers and get chuggy. Nah, man, I know what I need, some old man huggy. Old man huggy. Some old man huggy. Put your headphones on for proper audio quality, motherfucker.
Recording in progress.
What it do, what it do, what it do. It is your boy Andrew Schultz, aka Two Shoes, and who am I? As always, Joseph Huggin, aka Old Man Huggy. Talk shit or get off the pod. Episode 173, Teslas, toilets, and probiotic sodas. Welcome, motherfucks.
What's up, bro? How you doing today? Another day in the fucking Texas jungle, man. Crazy. There's a bill proposed now in Texas to put a ban to barking, purring, animal noises, and animal accessories, including litter boxes, in schools. Banning them. And any furry type attire. So ears, tails.
Oh, I was going to say, is this have to do with like that they were letting kids like
no one's letting a kid piss in a litter box.
Right. I know, but the claim that was happening.
Yep. So Texas, jumped in front of that train and said, "Hey, no more peeing in litter boxes. Teachers are not allowed to purchase litter boxes for kids. They can't even buy their own fucking school supplies. They're using their own money for school supplies. You think they're going and buying fucking Tidy Cat litter boxes with lids? Like, what the fuck is going on in this state? I can't believe I just bought a house here. It was more to protect my money than anything. But good Lord, what the fuck is going on? But what's up, man?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are on one, dude.
Hey, man, it's how we do it. Do it big in Texas. Go big or go home. Just not barking or purring like a cat. Absolutely not. Not on my school bus, Timothy. Sit down like a person. Pretty soon they're gonna start banning stuff like downward dog yoga positions. Like I have no idea what's next, but it's kind of incredible. It's almost like some Monty Python type shit. Like I feel like it's like an episode of Banana Splits, which nobody really remembers, but was this really tripped out show from back in the day. It's like fucking weird on crack, but they have this song. It's like la 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 la, and it's just like people dressed like fucking dogs and shit. It's the weirdest shit ever. That's all. I almost feel like I'm in some weird bizarro SNL all that skit with Banana Split. It's fucking madness, man. But Hot Wheels, dude, Hot Wheels is on when he is doing donuts in a Buc-ee's parking lot near you, dude. Greg Hot Wheel Abbott is out there just burning donuts, dude, just wearing the tread out on those metal wheels, dude. He's gonna be rimming it by the end of the day. No pun intended, because that one might be illegal soon too. Who knows?
What, rimming it?
Yeah, I guess. Who knows? What's next? I have you can't. There's gonna be a bill passed that says you can't take the Pringles chips and make them look like duck lips. Like, it's the weirdest fucking shit.
That'd be fucked up if because how do you eat Pringles without doing that at least once?
Yeah, I mean, that the commercial says you have to, basically. Once you pop, you can't stop. Quack, quack. But the fact that these are the things that we're wasting our time and money on is almost priceless. It's dumb, but it's funny to watch. It's like, hey, that guy across the street, he's totally ruining the neighborhood, and he's trying to build like a third story addition to his house, and it's gonna collapse, and there's no point in doing it, and like no one can live up there, but you're just watching him do it, and at some point it's gonna just collapse and fall. So it's kind of entertaining. It's like, get your popcorn out.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Schadenfreude, or is that what they call it?
It's like what?
Schadenfreude, where it's like you get pleasure out of other people's demise.
Yeah, I mean, and to see them do it on themselves and it being kind of effortlessly. Now, they are like destroying a lot of other people's lives and doing all these terrible, horrible things, which obviously are not funny. but to see the way in which they're doing it and the battles they're choosing to have, especially in the state of Texas, are profoundly stupid.
I just think it's so weird because I thought you guys were like all about your freedom.
Yeah, my terms. I love freedom as long as it's classic white Anglo-Saxon freedom. Come on now. I'd fight a Quaker. I'd fight a Quaker right now. Outside of a Quaker state. That's how serious I am.
I mean, my dad's from Pennsylvania. The Quaker are near and dear. Nah, fuck the Quaker, dude.
Yeah.
I don't trust a Quaker. I don't trust an Amish.
I trust an Amish for a Quaker at least.
I mean, isn't it the Quakers that have like got the measles out in Texas?
Who knows?
Like,
no, I mean, maybe
it's like some sort of like corny ass like sect like that.
it's just you can't make me vaccinate my kid, so I'm not gonna do it. So fuck you. I mean, whatever. There's a religious exemption in the state of Texas where you can claim a religious exemption and not have to vaccinate your kids and send them to public school.
Yeah, I'm telling you though, like there is like a community right back like where the breakout is.
Oh, I believe it. It's like whenever there was.
I forget what they're called.
When
like,
there was, but there's been, but those outbreaks. I mean, Texas is a little bit out there, a little ridiculous. But like in Colorado, Washington, Oregon, like I attribute anti-vaxxers way more with like hippy dippy, put this crystal in your butt and it'll cure your runny nose, than like some suburban Republicans. But now it's
totally.
like,
Well, that's how it used to be. Like,
but now it's like bridged that gap where they're like, oh, we're into the same conspiracies now. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, well, it's like RFK Jr. Is that and Jenny McCarthy.
Oh, yeah, because that's who the fact that what's crazy is like singled out Jenny McCarthy. I used to have the biggest crush on Jenny McCarthy.
I still have a boner from that.
I was like, who is this hot blonde chick who thinks farts are funny? I was like,
talking about posters on the wall. I had her poster on the wall.
Yeah, everybody did. I was like, well, except for me. My mom was like, that's trash. But little did my mom have enough foresight to know. I didn't know that she knew what she'd become. And then it's like, oh, vaccines gave my kid autism.
No, dude, what are you talking about? Like a host of like the 10 seasons of The Voice, bitch. Or not The Voice, Masked Singer.
That's much better. Sorry, I forgot. That's on the resume. It's a gold check on Twitter. X. Apologies, X. How's your tournament going? Mr. Goody's in the middle of a poker tournament right now. He was making me wait, but then he just gave up on the wait, and he's just he's powering through. You still in 12th place? How are you holding up?
I'm bouncing back and forth. I'm in currently. Okay, yeah. This tournament started 4 hours ago. There's 343 entries. $1,700 prize pool, knockout, a progressive knockout. So, anyways, you start with 150,000 chips. 343 people. There's 26 people left. I've got 1.6 million chips. I'm in 18th place. Let's fucking go. I've knocked out 7 people.
So you've already made your money, though.
I know. So the top 55 makes the prize money, and then the bounty money is separate. So prize money, I'm already in the prize money. Now it's just a matter of how big it's gonna get, and then also with the progressive knockout, once you get to the finals, like the final 2 people, so every time you knock somebody out, you take half of their bounty, and it goes goes straight to your account. The other half goes on top of your head, and it gets added. So it gets added. So at the end, whoever wins gets everything on the last person's head, plus gets to keep everything that kept getting added to my bounty or their bounty.
Okay.
So everything, yeah.
It's quite the come up.
Yeah, it is.
It's quite the come up, what you're saying. That's pretty awesome. Keep it going. Drinking a Monster. Let's go. Monsters are good. I love Monsters.
Yeah. Somebody told me they're only 150 milligrams of caffeine.
I believe it. I mean, I'm onto the hard shit now. I'm Ghost energy drinks 1 a day. trying to dial back. That's like my coffee. Is I drink a Ghost energy drink just one a day, and I've been slamming either Pedialyte or Liquid IV. I've been slamming on that Liquid IV whenever I want a Red Bull in the middle of the day because I'm like, which always happens. I just drink like a Gatorade or something, and water. I drink water throughout the day. I'm trying to be good, drink more water, be more productive.
That's all I drink is either Monster or water or THC beverages.
Yeah. Oh, we know. We've seen that. We've seen that. Still up. If you'd like to see the 15-minute episode. Still the best. Any news besides, taking over the gambling world?
Yesterday I went and played in fucking person. I had Ace King. I'm first to go like pre-flop. I bet 8. Like 3 other people call me. Ace 8-6 comes out. I bet 12. Everybody folds besides one guy. A 5 comes on the turn. I bet 24. He calls. Fucking 4 comes out on the river, and then he bets into me. I'm like, what the fuck? I call the rest of my chips, and he had Ace 7 and caught runner fucking straight on me, dude. I just go gross, and then like power walked out of there, dude.
Nothing's worse than the runner, man. I heard that shit.
But when he's not even like going for it, it's like he thinks his ace is good, his Ace 7 is good. It's like, ugh.
Yeah. Well, you win some, you lose some, and you win most. So.
I know. Just come on, guys, get your shit together, guys.
You want to get into these therapy questions?
Let's do it.
Therapy question number 1: is Tesla dropping in the market right now? Karma for Elon Musk and just his business practices. If you haven't noticed, everybody, Tesla is dropped 10%, 12% today.
Today?
Yeah, today, and they're down almost 35% in the past month. They were at 350. Now I think they ended at like 220, 222. They're saying with projections it could be anywhere as low as 135 a share in the next week if it stays on this trend. What do you make of this?
I mean, karma makes it seem like it's some like ethereal thing. Like, no, dude, this is like the market reacting to a dipshit that like has exposed himself, and also he's pissed off people, so people aren't buying his car. He his customer base were liberals, right? Like the one, like your fucking MAGA people out in Texas who hate electric cars. Like Donald Trump hates electric cars. So then he thinks that they're gonna fucking buy his cars. No, and now everybody on the left doesn't want to buy them. So it's like, first of all, he wasn't selling enough of them to justify the fucking market cap in the first place. But now it's like nobody's now like when nobody's buying them like around the world. I don't know, dude.
I think they dropped 76% sales in Germany. Yep. They're the only country where they've increased their sales in EV cars. In those is the UK, actually. And in China, they've been outpriced. They're cheaper. What is it? BYD. Yeah, BYD has got stuff with more features, self-driving.
BYD. Yeah, BYD. Yeah, it's like a $10,000 car that China, because like China heavily subsidizes it, the government. So yeah, dude, and it's like a pretty legit cute car that works and shit.
Self-driving's free. It comes included, or you'd have to pay anywhere from 10, I think it's 10K extra to upgrade your Tesla to have the self-driving. They have more options, more features. They're better quality built. Where China's a big market, but that BYD has surpassed the amount of sales in Tesla, so they've actually flip-flopped where Tesla is not the number one selling EV car over there anymore. I mean, yeah, you're right. Karma. I just put karma in there because.
But those Chinese cars, we have 100% tariff on in the United States, and that's like before the Trump shit.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean,
because we're just like, you're not gonna fucking come in here and subsidize these electric cars and just decimate our fucking auto industry because you got
They're not gonna flood the market with them, but I mean. I put karma in the question because that's something that someone would say is like, well, that's karma. It's what he gets. But it's really bad business practices whenever you have somebody who is the head of your company chooses to be the public figure. And whenever Elon was more likable, yeah, the stock price went up. People thought it was cool because Elon owned it and Elon's cool and he's gonna, oh, did you see him on fucking Big Bang Theory the other day? Or, oh, he was on Conan, all this stupid shit. And now they're realizing this guy's a clown. He's like a Nazi who made all of his money originally off of emerald mines with children. I will say that for the rest of my life. Apartheid fucking emerald mine money, family wealth. Bought a bunch of companies that he didn't even found, I guess, besides PayPal with Peter Thiel, who's a piece of shit. So it's not.
No, even PayPal he didn't found. Like he was working on his like X, like it was like
whatever is, yeah.
And he joined up with they merged the two, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it's definitely just bad business practices. It's interesting to see too because he leveraged a bunch of his Tesla stock to purchase X, Twitter, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
He purchased Twitter.
Yeah, to purchase Twitter. So whenever he used that as collateral for a loan, I mean, if they reach a certain point, I mean, they're saying if it reaches 135 is kind of the limit. They might do a 51% vote and vote him the fuck out and vote him off of the board and boot him out of Tesla because he's not the majority.
The problem with that is that the board is only sycophants of Musk, and they've all made fuck tons of money, so they're not doing anything, dude. That's the whole point of that board. The board just sits there and does nothing and cashes checks. But they're the most non-fiduciary responsible board. They're fucking just yes men to Elon.
Yes, but there's a limit. So that's what they're saying is even I think there was someone, a bigwig for JP Morgan Chase, was saying there is a number that if they reach, they will choose to do that. They will choose to get rid of this dude if they have to.
Okay, but now let me remind you that these shareholders are the ones who voted to give him that ridiculous $50 billion pay package. Then the judge turned it down. They re-voted and voted again to give it to him when it was $110 billion. So,
I don't know.
I agree that there is a number, but I'm saying
$100, $100 a stock.
My point is just he's got more leeway than any other CEO with any other company, I think.
I mean, totally possible, but we are watching it kind of crumble before our eyes, and it's pretty funny. And karma's not the correct way to say it. It's definitely bad business practices by a bad person who's awful in front of the camera. I don't care how many times he's like, "Oh, I'm autistic." No, you're not, dude. You're just socially fucking awkward. You might have Asperger's, maybe. I just think you eat ass after eating some burgers because you're a douchebag. I don't think. You can try to spin it however you want, but you're not as likable as you think you are. And now supposedly that he was there's been all these reports, people close to Rubio, people who said that he was crying in the Oval Office about how much Tesla stock was dropping. And that's why Donald Trump chose to do the Carl Salesman infomercial.
Tesla. Did you call it Tesla?
Yeah. It's all computer. Apparently that him being upset about his stock price dropping is why they did that in the first place, is he did it to appease him because at the end of the day Trump sold his soul to Elon Musk for about $250 million for his election, and so he feels like he owes it to him, and he probably said, "You owe it to me, motherfucker." So that being said, we're witnessing it happen in real time. We're watching the richest man in the world, and there's somebody who's like, "I don't care if you throw out Masa Musa." Nobody, someone actually brought that up the other day. I was listening to some talking heads bitch about Elon Musk and arguing and saying that he's richer, how he has more money than Masa Musa because we can't prove that he had that much money. And I was like, oh, shout out, my boy, let's go, Masa Musa, black man for life. But now Masa Musa's the richest man to ever exist, for sure. I hope it keeps falling. I hope these people who have dumped tons of money in it since November, who made a shit ton, and then they've lost it very quickly. There's a lot of people who've lost a lot of money very quickly.
On both Tesla and on fucking the meme coin and on Donald Trump's stock.
Yep.
These are, and they're his constituents, dude. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
he just rips off like the people who vote for him.
Yeah, but at least with Tesla, you know that's not is that they're not ripping anybody off. They got ripped off. So it's not like while they made money, they made so much, like, you should have gotten the fuck out. And I guarantee you, partially why it's dropping is people are seeing this shit go down and they're like, bro, I made like 200K, I'm out. Like, I'm fucking done with this shit. There's people who probably like Elon Musk and are pro Doge and are sitting there saying like, ooh, I gotta pull my money out of this shit because it's plummeting. And that doesn't help the cause at all. I mean, hopefully we get to watch it go all the way to zero. I doubt that happens. I'm sure it'll rebound. And
no, I mean, it like, if it was gonna trade around the, let's say the best car companies, then it's like right now its price earnings ratio is like over 100, or it was until it started dropping. Like the best car companies, they're like at a 6 price earnings multiple. This guy's like over 100, so like he could lose like the stock price needs to go down like 80% more, like, to be like actually valued correctly.
Yeah. So we're watching it happen in real time, and it's amazing because it's happening quickly. Like, quickly. This is one of the most rapid declines. And some people
do you think if he like thought Doge was going to be like a money grab, or like good for business for him, like to like get all the info, whatever the fuck he was thinking, dude, backfire. And like we're not even 2 months in.
And there's the theory that he is using Doge to gut the agencies that are investigating him for all of the shady.
That's a
because the Canadian government is investigating him right now. Because in the last, what was it, 2 to 3 days, so he collects money from the Canadian government in subsidies for every EV car sold, and there was something like they were selling 1,200 cars like a day or something. It was crazy for the last week that was still active, where he could still get that payback from the government in these subsidies for selling EV cars, and they sold like an astronomical amount of Teslas in the last like week or two before that shut off, to where it was such a suspicious amount of cars sold that they're like, where the fuck are all these cars? Like, who bought all these fucking cars? Because they had to pay out all this money to him, and now they're wondering where the cars are that they had to pay him out for. So he's being investigated literally globally. There's other governments that are investigating him for his shady business practices as well. So we'll see. Some people say Trump's going to give him some sort of bailout. Some people say that there's going to be all these, I don't know, there's all these different theories about what's going to happen, and that they're not going to let Tesla crumble like that. But I think we're witnessing.
But it's not, I mean, he's not going to be bankrupt, dude. He doesn't need a fucking bailout. Like,
but
he's just not going to be like as fucking like
true,
disgustingly rich as he
But there is an angle where if he's leveraged his Tesla stock to purchase X, or Twitter, fuck X. So he purchased Twitter with that. There's a certain number where he can default on the loan, and the banks can seize that shit from him. He could lose ownership of X. He could potentially lose.
Well, you mean the Tesla?
Well, not just Tesla. He leveraged his Tesla stock to purchase it at a certain value. So if he's taken it at that value and now it drops below a certain number, he could lose ownership of X because he would default on his loan because the collateral he put up on it isn't worth shit. That's like,
oh, I see what you're saying.
That's like putting your house up for collateral on a bank loan, and then you go upside down on your equity in your home, and now you owe more money on your home than it's worth. Like, they're gonna seize your shit from you. So there's a possibility that he could lose ownership of this social media platform he's obsessed with. He could potentially lose ownership of it if he defaults, and he could default if his stock price drops below a certain amount. He could default on that loan, and they could seize it from him, and he would no longer be the owner of X. That's totally possible.
I did hear like a couple of weeks ago, and maybe like this was based upon because they thought Elon, was on the up and up, but that people were valuing X right around the same price that he bought it for. Like, they were trying to sell the debt, and they were getting offers for the 45 billion or something. And I was like, who the fuck is doing that? Like, who's offering? It's like he
Vanguard, BlackRock.
It wasn't worth 45 billion when he bought it, and he just fucking destroyed it, made it like a fucking cesspool that makes no money.
Yeah,
The-
if anybody was smart, it's everybody who got paid out when he bought it. Like if you sold Twitter and he bought it for that 45 bill or whatever he fucking paid for it because the court said he had to, then you made off like a bandit. Everything after that is just absurd because it was never worth that much. It'll probably never ever be worth that much, and he overpaid for it times 2. So if he's overpaid for it,
times 10.
yeah. So if you overpaid for it, I mean, then you just got you hit a lick, bro. It's like how I feel with the house. I got my house. I made an offer on my house. I offered less than what the asking price was. They never had an appraisal done. I get it appraised, and they're like, "Oh, it's worth $40K more than what you're paying for it." I was like, like awesome, fuck yeah, that's badass. Like so cool. Whenever I hand you this check at closing, you're telling me it's worth $40K more. Like, and the guy I bought it from is great, super nice dude. He's fantastic. He like flips houses and shit, so he's not a bad guy at all. But
What is he flips houses, so he's not a bad guy.
No, but what I'm saying is he's not like a bad dude, but I offered him less than what he was asking, and what he was asking was $40K less than what it was actually worth. So whenever I got it appraised, I was like, "Oh shit! Like fuck yeah! I just hit a lick on this property because it's worth $40K more than what he asked an asking price. Had he gotten appraised beforehand, he would have known that he should have asked for more money, but he didn't, and he accepted way less. And then I'm walking into something where I'm making instant $40K off of it. That's a win for me.
Twitter?
What I'm saying is, if you're going in and you're purchasing this and you're paying for more than what it's worth, the people who made out like bandits are the people who got paid when he bought it the first time.
Which is literally just the shareholders.
Yeah, the original shareholders. After that, it's just.
That's why the board of Twitter, they're like, whoa, this guy just offered us 45 billion. Like we literally
have to take it.
It's our fiduciary responsibility. Like we do not want to sell Twitter to this asshole, but he just offered us 10 times more than it's worth. We're cashing out. Everybody has to cash out. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. And you can't blame him, and it's been upside down ever since. Therapy question number 2. You can either fly or breathe underwater. Which do you choose?
Oh, fly. Not fly underwater.
No, like fly or
right.
breathe underwater. Which do you pick?
Breathe underwater.
Yeah, on God. I mean, flying would be tight, but breathing underwater, imagine all the treasure you'd bring up, the wild shit you'd find. You'd be like Matthew McConaughey in some treasure hunting movie, or you'd be like, Paul Walker in Deep and Into the Blue. You'd just be like pulling up pirates' chests of gold and shit. You'd solve so many mysteries. You would literally be the Indiana Jones of like the ocean. You'd be the coolest motherfucker ever.
Be cooler than Indiana Jones, dude.
Now that doesn't mean you can't. You can handle all the pressure down there. So you'd have to come up with something, but because you could still get crushed by the vacuum that is the deep sea. But yeah, definitely breathe underwater. And I'm petrified of the ocean. But I'd be looking up sunken pirate ships, Spanish galleons and shit, just pulling up coins, swords. I'd go find Atlantis. You'd just be able to do so much shit. Flying would be cool, but only for so long. It'd kind of be boring. At some point, I feel like you'd get bored with flying.
Well, like when you fly in this scenario, does it, like, when you walk or run, like it expends energy? Like, are you expending energy when you fly?
No, man, you're just soaring, dog.
So
you're just like Superman soaring.
Unlimited flying.
Yeah, like unlimited flight.
It's kind of tight.
That would be cool, but like I said, it'd get old after a bit. You could only do so much for you. I've seen everything. I've gone everywhere. You wouldn't be able to. You could only explore so much. But it would be cool. You could like maybe find some cool shit. See, I'd use either of these to just be like, oh, I found some wild shit in Amazon.
I'd be going to like I go hit like Pipeline like down in like the North Shore of like Hawaii and like just start going big wave surfing. Fearless.
Yeah,
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Trap me under the wave? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I'm vibing down here, dude. This is tight. I got tossed around a little bit, but I was breathing.
But I mean, it could literally just break your fucking spine too. So that there's
true. That would be dangerous, but breathe underwater would definitely be cooler than flying. I think that's also I think most humans or people would say that as well, just because then you would have the ability to explore something we can't explore. So like flying, we're like, okay, we see the sky. Okay, you could go here. There's only so much stuff you could do, where if it was you could breathe underwater, you'd be discovering shit that you've never seen or people have never seen before. And I think that would be tight. So I think it's the allure, the mystery of what's below the ocean, as we already know what's in the fucking sky. Some birds and shit.
Think about how ripped you would get, like, because you could be like swimming underwater and you could breathe and just have like the resistance.
Oh, bro, you'd be yoked. You'd be coming up yoked, dude. Nobody would fuck with you. Like a swimmer build, you'd be badass. No one would ever fuck with you. And then you could take all your fights, you just take them underwater and just take them down. Be like, what? Like, yeah, you'd be undrownable. Uh-oh, he's locked in. What's the play? What do you got? What are you working with?
Wow, this guy got runner flush. I mean, I'm out. 17th place.
Well, that's not bad. So what's the payout? What's your bounty? What did you have for your bounty, actually? Because you're walking away with something.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing. It was like a little itty bitty game. Like the bounties, like there's $2 on everybody's head to start with. So when you knock somebody out, you get $1, and then $1 goes on your head. So I collected $10 in bounties, and then $11 in prize money. So.
What was the buy-in? Oh, okay. So you came up.
My money, but it's like come on.
For 4 hours.
I know, but
was it worth it?
If I won, like it's like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Like it goes up like a lot. Like I was the last one out before it got down to 2 tables.
Okay. Well, I mean, shout out to you. Hell yeah. But yeah, I mean, definitely breathe underwater. Flying. Therapy question number 3. I've changed it. I think I've done the one I had previously, where if you could bring back one animal from extinction, what animal would you bring back? I think I've done that before. Maybe. But if you could bring back one animal from extinction, what animal would you bring back?
You go first.
I would bring back the Tasmanian tiger, which is always interesting. That is one of the most recently extinct ones. It was kind of like a dog type thing that had these tiger stripes on the side of it. It was called a Tasmanian tiger, and it wasn't a tiger. It was actually like a canine type thing. It was fucking crazy looking, and you can see some black and white videos of them. Probably bring that back just because it looked cool as fuck. Maybe catch it, domesticate it. Hey, don't fuck with me. I got a Tasmanian. I got a tiger. Then they come over. It's like this wolf dog thing. You'd be confusing people. No one would fuck with you if you had a Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah. I mean, what about a chupacabra?
Did those exist?
No, they didn't. What animals had like...
Dodo bird would be cool.
I know, but I don't like, who the fuck wants to bring a dodo bird back?
PETA.
And, I feel like the dinosaurs would play it out.
Yeah, I wouldn't bring back dinosaurs. I feel like that's just, we've seen this. We've seen what happens when crazy white guys bring dinosaurs
Maybe like a megalodon?
Yeah, some herbivore. Something that's just going to eat plants. You wouldn't want to bring back...
Megalodon's a shark.
Megalodon might exist.
Oh, still?
Yeah, I mean, have you seen the movie with Jason Statham? There's 2 of them. They're about to be a 3rd, and it's called Meg, and it might be real.
No, but
or bring back that crazy ass like alligator looking motherfucker that's like lives underwater with like the whale fins and shit. That thing was pretty crazy. But I just feel like you're playing a dangerous game unless you bring back a herbivore that's just going to eat plants, vibe out, be docile. There's no point in bringing back any dinosaurs ever. That's not going to end well for us. I've just seen it a couple times. Once with Chris Pratt, a couple times. One time with Samuel L. Jackson.
Are there any like cute, cuddly, like instinct animals? Like the equivalent of like a sloth
There's giant sloth.
or a panda? Like that? No, I'm just saying it's like like it's too bad that doesn't exist anymore.
What's fucked up was when they're talking about like old school prehistoric giant sloths, and they're like, oh, these caves that are carved were in this big ass granite rock were actually tunnels bored by prehistoric giant sloths. You're like, that's horrifying. I think,
Is it?
yes. Are you kidding me? Watching a sloth dig a hole through the side of a mountain, that would be terrifying. I would be
That's awesome.
Nah, nope, don't fuck with that. It'd be too big.
Terrifying.
If you saw that happening, you would know what you'd be like. Is that gonna hurt me?
I'd be like, God, am I in heaven?
No way. I do not. I don't
Yeah.
fuck any of that.
Marsupials never seem to scare me, dog.
Especially if you go back far enough. Whenever there was so much oxygen, in the oxygen in the atmosphere was substantially higher. So plants were huge, insects were huge, spiders were huge, like big ass fuck off spiders, dragonflies the size of cars. Like nah,
And the atmosphere was on fire.
nah, I ain't playing with that. Nope. No way, Jose. You can keep all that shit. I'll bring back Tasmanian tiger. I'll bring back a dodo bird. I'd find some wild American bird that, I don't know, white people killed off 200 years ago.
White people killed off?
Well, it's not like the Native Americans are out there just killing birds left and right.
They were.
They were eating them. They were from the land.
Yeah, but they didn't document it, motherfuckers. So, like, we don't know about it.
No, it's when Europeans came over and were shooting them. We're like, hey, wait, take my picture. They're like, what the fuck's a picture? Like, I wouldn't, nah.
Snatch your soul, Pocahontas.
It's got to be something that's extinct in the past, like, 50 years for me to be comfortable with it. Otherwise, I ain't fucking with it like that. There's no way. It's a wild card.
We're literally going through a mass extinction.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't name, like, anything that, like, I'm missing right now. Because even, like, the animals that we're saying, like, it's not like we ever kicked it.
Yeah, they're not like...
fucking bird.
They're not like, well, people did kick it with dodo birds.
I know, but I'm
I
saying...
think the last dodo bird died when we were alive, I want to say. Let me pull it up.
No, bro. He was, like, probably died, like, 1,000 years ago.
No, it was like... When did the dodo... If you type in when did it... Oh, dang it. 1622. 1690.
Your boy knows. I was off by 400 or 600.
They're wild looking though. I'd bring back a dodo bird. They didn't fly. They had little wings. You could bring them back. They look like they'd be good to eat. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, I don't know. Bring the back the one that died in 19.
Hunting by settlers. Yeah, it was, and pigs, habitat destruction. Pigs and other animals eating their eggs and hunting by settlers. That's what ended up killing off the dodo bird. Imagine you go extinct because a bunch of pigs are eating your kids. That would be awful. That would be just demoralizing. That's when you quit. That's when you give up. The dodo bird was like, I'm out. I'm done. I can't fly. I'm getting hunted all the time. And these pigs are eating all of my shit. I'm out.
Not I'm out. They couldn't adapt. Mother Nature said you're out, bro.
I mean, I guess. I suppose. Therapy question number 3, part 2. Big dog shirts or Massimo shirts?
Oh my God, neither.
What? No. You got to pick one. Big dogs or Massimo?
No, I don't fuck with either of those. Like, I literally have beef if like you're wearing that. Like I
You have beef with kids in Massimo shirts?
And big dog shirts. I don't even get it. Get away from me. What are you doing?
Big dogs make sense. You could have beef with big dog shirts. I had a couple friends that's like
Massimo
exclusively wore big dog shirts. Massimo had some good shirts back in the day. Now they're all like, just like, I don't know, like Target T-shirts and shit. But back in the day, you'd have to go to the mall, spend $40, get a Massimo shirt with some wild ass design or some weird little dude on them. I would probably choose Massimo over big dogs if I had to pick.
I think like the first 3 kids I met who had Massimo shirts were fucking douche nozzles, and so I just Massimo, done for me. Douche brand. Massimo, what is that, Japanese?
No, it's a guy actually. Like his last name's Massimo. Somebody was.
Is it Japanese?
No, it's Italian. There's somebody famous used to be married to the guy who owned Massimo, and then I think they divorced him because it went to Target, and they were like, "I'm out." Like, I'm out. You went from $40 a shirt to 12. I'm out.
Yeah,
Sorry,
dude.
bae. Sorry,
Yeah.
bae. Hit me with that
Go hang
alimony.
out with your homie Ed Hardy or something.
Oh my God, Ed Hardy was such a
Hold on.
bad.
Going to Target though.
Yeah, Massimo Gianni. He was married to Laura. Oh, he was married to Lori Laughlin, the Aunt Becky from fucking Full House, who went to prison.
Oh, the prisoner.
Yeah, who is paying for her kid to go to school. That she was married to Massimo. That's his first name.
I actually think I knew that now. Like,
Laura Linney.
Laura Linney's different.
I don't know, Laura something. Laura White Lady.
Is it Aunt Becky or is it not?
No, it is Aunt Becky.
Okay.
It is.
Did you see her guest appearance on Curb Your Enthusiasm the last season?
Mm-mm.
She wants to golf at Larry's country club, and so Larry, as a member, has to vouch for her, and he does, and then she's just like, she got like a handicapped shit for her golf cart, even though she's not handicapped, so she could drive up onto the greens and shit. Like, so she's like, he like stuck his neck. He's like, "Come on, it was a mistake, blah blah blah." And she's like, just a terrible person.
Yeah, because she is a terrible person. So I'm glad she played herself. But that's part of Curb.
Now I'm trying to think, Jenny McCarthy or Aunt Becky. Who was my first boner? I think I said Aunt Becky was my first boner on this podcast, like, I don't know, 2 years ago.
For me, Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz, probably, in The Mask.
I mean, that's a late boner, bro.
I mean, I guess. I'm trying to think. That was like second grade or some shit like that. I don't even know. Second grade sounds like an early one. That sounds early to me. Like, we're still, we're still in the same hallway as like my first and kindergarten teacher, or right down the hallway, and so I don't know.
I don't know, dude. They cut that umbilical cord. I dropped it like a mic. Told that nurse slap my ass. That's the shit that I like.
And the doctor said, there's something wrong with your child.
Dude.
He's either the smartest baby alive because he's talking and he's very self-aware, or
in
you
the
need
incubator, my erection was greater. Fucking just murdering little infants, dude. Sudden infant death syndrome up in the nursery.
Jesus Christ. Therapy question number 4. Does America have its own culture?
Duh, obviously.
We
are the culture, bro.
What is it? I'm just curious. What is American culture?
What is American culture?
Yeah. I'm just curious.
Hip hop.
That's it? Hip hop is American culture? It's black American culture.
No, that's more. Hip hop's America's #1 export, dude.
That I believe. That or Teslas. Hey.
Yeah, that's what the fucking culture is, bro.
You think? I mean, I feel like American culture is just an amalgamation of everybody else's. That's why it's like a big melting pot, right?
See, I disagree. Because I feel like that the rest of the world looks to America for their cues when it comes to culture.
Maybe when it comes to entertainment or sports, but overall, I mean, American culture is an adaptation of everybody else's who came here originally, right? So there's nothing. So we just celebrated St. Patrick's Day. That's not American culture.
Yeah.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Cinco de Mayo is not American culture.
The Irish were the wretched refuge on the teeming shore. They came to America.
Yeah,
American.
I know, but it didn't start over Christmas, Saint Nick. That's not American culture.
Okay, holidays that we celebrate.
America might commercialize other people's cultures and use it in a way that it becomes a part of ours. We adopt other people's, and so that's why I say it's an amalgamation of everyone else's. Because Arbor Day, sure, President's Day.
Why are you naming holidays for culture, dude?
I'm just using examples. 4th of July, that's American culture. Juneteenth,
1 day a year.
There you go. That's all we got.
Nah, bro.
MLK Day.
Nah. Guess what, Drake? You ain't like us, dude. That's what American culture is, bitch. A minor.
Ridiculous.
Fucking terrifying.
Therapy question number 5. It has come out that the Trump administration is working to remove the federal protections and guidelines that contractors are not allowed to do segregated bathrooms, segregated housing, segregated water fountains. They've removed the federal clause that bars contractors from actually building or helping erect any type of segregated structures. Is this so? The question is, does removing federal protections on segregation for contractors actually help anybody? They're saying that it's to help combat DEI.
This is insane, dude. But this is okay.
That's real. I'm not making that up. That's
No,
actually
no, I believe
it's
you.
real.
A few years ago, the Republicans down south said that we've come such a far way since the civil rights movement that we no longer need the Voting Rights Act, which were laws enacted on the southern states to make sure that black people could vote fairly, and there's all these metrics that they have to meet in order so that we know that they're doing it. They're like, no, we don't need that anymore because obviously
We're past that.
yeah, soon. And so guess what, the Supreme Court said, okay, sure, yeah, we don't need it anymore. Soon as that happened, just boom boom, all sorts of fucking laws, just purging black people off the votes, closing polling places in black we're in black neighborhoods, just it, so when they're like, oh, it's supposed to blah blah blah, it's not a big deal, they're just, I mean, it doesn't mean that segregation is gonna, yeah, dude, watch.
It's pretty crazy. That's
Yeah,
when I read that
why do
today.
it?
I was
Why
like,
do
that's
it?
the craziest shit I've ever heard.
It's wild, the people that they got up in here. I didn't realize that there's some nefarious ass Americans that don't believe in American ideals. It's crazy.
They don't believe in equality for everybody.
Or just like yeah, exactly. They think that
Is there that big of a market in construction to build segregated housing? Like, I didn't know there was such a demand that, oh man, we got to peel back regulations, and we got to do that in the first 2 months. Because Jim Bob wants to build some white fountains and some black water fountains, and we got to make sure he can do it so he can get paid. That's a free market. If somebody else doesn't do it, then if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. Nobody should be doing it. That's the whole fucking point.
It's kind of like when they went through and they hit Control F gay, and then try to delete everything and just say gay, and they deleted the Enola Gay, which is the name of the airplane that dropped the nuke on Japan. They deleted that out of the fucking history books,
or the Tuskegee Airmen, the black pilots, and what was it, World War II? They're just like they're like, oh, you can't teach about them anymore. It's like, what are you talking about? That's fucking wild. Like, they didn't exist.
That they also gave syphilis on purpose.
It didn't exist. Like, those guys didn't actually play a role in winning the war. We're just not going to talk about the black guys anymore.
It's so Orwellian, man. It's like erasing history. It's so fucking crazy.
And what's even wilder is if, let's say, we get through this administration and there's a new, let's say, a more liberal approach to things after this, to backtrack and reinstate this shit is going to be cringe as fuck. And you're going to see people flip the fuck out because they're reinstalling some of this stuff.
Some of it's just gone forever, bro. Some of the science, that they've been deleting for no fucking reason, out of the FDA. It's and then also with their clinical trials that they've stopped, because of the funding that they've stopped. It's you can't just restart the clinical trials. You're just fucked now. Dude, they're doing so much harm, and it's you can't do what Elon I thought or at least what he was saying he was gonna do was the zero-based budgeting, where it's you take everything, every department down to zero, and then you have everybody justify every dollar you're gonna spend. Some companies do that. You can't do that in the government, because if you take you can't take everything down to zero, because what if it's like a necessity and then you can't like you can't restart it once you've taken it down, or if you do, it costs 1,000 times more money. So it's like there's nothing efficient about like just cutting the funding from everybody and then trying to and then find out like what we actually need. Oh fuck, we need the people who are in charge of our nuclear like silos. Oh fuck, we need the people in charge of Ebola.
Yeah.
Yeah, you dipshit.
It's pretty crazy. But when I was reading that today, that's wild. I was like, that is, there's nothing that is strictly racism. Like, right? I don't know, but racism's dead. But let's build but now you can build segregated water fountains if you want to. Like, what? This is crazy. Like, what's even wilder, though, is if we do overcome this, and then let's say there's a school that gets reintegrated, and they go on to win the state championship running the wing T offense and beat a showboating team that is, reinstalling the shotgun offense. We could have Remember the Titans Part 2. So this might be setting up for, like, the greatest opus that we've ever seen Denzel have. Like, the return of Coach Boone. I remember...
Ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low.
There's a part where, in Remember the Titans, in the beginning, whenever they're all hanging out and they're having this, like, the head coach gets demoted and he's defensive coordinator or whatever, and the parents are all like, yeah, you can't do this. And this dad stands up, and his name's Coach Boone, and he's like, I ain't gonna let my kid pay for no Coach Coon. I'm like, oh my God, bro, like, what is going on? And what's wild is I now realize there was people like watching that in speech class when it was a rainy day outside. They were like, yeah, nobody should have to play for that fucking guy. And I never thought that was the case, but that's gotta be, that like has to be. Some people watch Remember the Titans and are like, it's terrible, it's a horror story. Those are the people that are trying to.
I don't know, because
No, because those are the people that are trying to build segregated water fountains.
Yeah, well, the people who are trying to build the segregated water fountains were the people putting on Remember the Titans, dude. They're the ones putting the fucking movie in.
True. He's like, I hate this movie, but it's got a good message. Like, I don't understand it. They never should have let Rev play quarterback. Sunshine was better. Or like, oh man, Ryan Gosling wasn't a liability at corner. Why'd they have to put that black guy in? Just let him figure it out. He just needed to really learn the coverages, and the safeties weren't communicating well enough. That's why he got burned the whole time. Like, I do love that Ryan Gosling plays like the biggest racist in that whole movie too. Like, talk about just he went from being on Goosebumps, the TV show, the Say Cheese and Die episode, great episode, and then later on in life he's playing like the racist corner who becomes a backup. I was like, this is fucking awesome. And then he's in Blade Runner, and like what's funny is I feel like Ryan Gosling's a good dude. I'd probably vibe with him. He probably was like, I was terrible. He deserved to be benched. Like, I read the script, he wasn't any good. He was a liability out there.
Like, I mean, I gotta be honest. I don't understand why Gosling is like the guy, or was like the guy. Like,
he's a good actor.
No, I'm talking about like looks. Like, this is the guy who's the best looking guy in the world, or is it whoever played that role in Notebook was gonna?
I think Notebook helps with that. I think Paul.
He's like kind of.
I think Paul Walker falling off the face of the planet helped with that.
Like, Paul Walker's like a fucking that's like a pretty person. Like
Lance Harbor, he's going to Florida State, and then he's going to go play for the Pittsburgh
asymmetric
Steelers.
Ass face.
I think it's really, there's got to be a blonde guy in the mix. So once we lost Paul Walker, Ryan Gosling filled that role, and he's a better actor than Paul Walker ever was. And then that's why you have like Jake Gyllenhaal. Like people love Jake Gyllenhaal. So you got your brunette, then you got your blonde boy. So I think he just fits that Ken, and then he does the Ken movie. So if you get casted as Ken, I mean, that's got to be.
But that's way down the line after he's already established.
Exactly, but then to be casted as Ken,
I just don't get it. Like all those guys you named, I get it. I just don't get it with him. But you know what? I'm a straight white cis male. What I still don't know what cis means.
Yeah, but you watch Jake Gyllenhaal in what's that movie called? Oh my gosh, where he plays like the creepy ass fucking
Nightcrawler.
Yeah, Nightcrawler. There's nothing attractive about that dude in Nightcrawler. He looks creepy as shit. Like, I think they have good acting ability, and that's kind of like why they also get the pass. Is it's like they're good actors and they're not ugly dudes. But I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal's a badass. I think they're both fantastic. So I have zero qualms with either.
Yeah, no, I'm not hating on it.
But the Notebook helps. The Notebook helps. Like that's I mean, shout out.
Richard McAdams.
Shout out for that. I mean,
Mrs. McAdams.
I mean,
That's a Lil Dicky song.
He walked away with that. He walked away from that better than McAdams. And McAdams has done stuff. He walked away from being in the Notebook more successful than her. That catapulted him more than it did her, for sure. People forget that bitch was in that movie. But they're like, oh, Jake Gyllenhaal? The Notebook?
Because it's a chick flick.
Or Ryan Gosling?
Into Gosling, you know?
Right.
They're like, fuck McAdams. I wish that was me.
Yeah, and they just imagine. Yeah, they're like, who's in that? I just always imagined myself. That was me. I know what I want. Ask me one more time, Ryan. I know what I want.
I've never seen that movie.
Really? You've never seen it?
No.
I mean, it's all right. It's not that great. But, I mean, you know, if a girl's there, that was let's watch The Notebook. And you're like, all right, fine, whatever. And we're going to get 20 minutes into it. I'm going to try to make out with you because this is terrible.
I went through like a solid, like, I don't know, three years of introductions of myself in college. You know, be like, say your name and let me, what you're interested in. And be like, and my favorite movie is The Notebook.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it's an easy icebreaker. Now it's like you can see through it, but
no, I would say it for the laughs.
There's someone who's like, oh my God, is that really your favorite movie? Because it's mine too. That's some people's favorite movie. I think it's really stupid. It's not that good. It's just, say la vie, to each their own. You need a break, or are we getting into articles?
Let's do a quick one.
All right, we'll do a quick little break, and we will be back in a moment. Yeah, we'll be back.
Fucking Ryan Flesh through that fucking bullshit.
Recording stopped.
First article from Bloomberg Business Week by Adam Papaskew.
You haven't had Bloomberg in a while, man. That's your boy, dude. Bloomberg. That's your shit, dude. We haven't been on Bloom in a bit, bro. Let's go, dude. The return of the Mac.
The sex mushroom hunters of Nepal. Cordyceps fungi sell in Beijing for $136,000 a pound and have made their way into Whole Foods. They underpin entire communities in the Himalayas, but that comes with a lot of downsides. We've got a couple of months before the second season of The Last of Us premieres, but with Valentine's Day just around the corner, there are other uses for the dread fungus cordyceps that may be of interest. On the video game-inspired HBO show, the mushrooms mostly turn people into super strong killing machines. In the world of traditional medicine, they're prized as a panacea or perhaps especially as an aphrodisiac. Throughout the Himalayas, a species called Cordyceps sinensis, which grows from the corpses of ghost moth larvae that inhale its spores, is worth 4 times its weight in gold. Traditional medicine says it cures almost anything. Recently, people have taken it, calling it Himalayan Viagra. The mushroom's connection to a fictional zombie apocalypse is less obvious at the extremely high altitudes where the cordyceps is picked from the ground in Nepal, China, India, and Bhutan. In those places, it's better known by other names. The Tibetan phrase for it is Yartsa gunbu, literally summer grass, winter worm. Another popular appellation is caterpillar fungus. Ranging from bright orange to dark brown, the mushroom looks like a deformed matchstick and smells putrid. Dug from the ground and painstakingly cleaned by comb and toothbrush, it's taken whole in tea, crushed and added into pills, or drowned in whiskey.
Let's go,
What do you think about this?
I mean,
Have you heard of this thing?
No, I mean, I haven't. Cordyceps are weird. I know The Last of Us. I mean, I've played all the games and beat them all. And that's, cordyceps. take over. And basically, if there was ever a way for cordyceps to infect humans, that would be pretty bad. I mean, you hear about these different things that like take over ants and make them climb up trees, and then they die, and then they burst out their back. There's all sorts of urban legends about wild fungi that make humans do that, where they kind of make you zombified. So, no, I mean, I'm not eating something that's going to smell putrid out of the ground. Now, would I pick
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like psilocybin mushrooms taste like shit.
Yeah, but those are normally like a fish tank, and like I know what I'm getting into. I'm not wandering around the Himalayas just picking up things that look like caterpillars and fucking eating them. That's crazy. But that, I mean, good on them. There's always some new thing that's gonna give you a boner. It's just wild that it's coming from cordyceps and like the Himalayan mountains and like Bhutan and shit. That's pretty crazy. But I mean, it's not that far off. I think there's a lot of mysterious things we don't know about that exist in remote areas like that natives are going to use for whatever they use them for. It's wild that they're in Whole Foods. And what does it say? So it's $19 for a 90 pill bottle, just a fraction of the market, but it's Stanford University estimates that it's worth $11 billion annually.
What, the market?
Yeah, that's wild.
I mean, does it like I don't ever buy into this shit. Like whenever that like the like rhino tusk and shit like that, it's like, dude, y'all are like killing and like instincting animals for some shit that probably doesn't even like do anything. It's like placebo.
At least with this, they're not killing anything. They're growing off of things that are already dead. But those are things that have inhaled their spores, become infected, and this is what bursts out of their body after they die. So cordyceps are just spooky to me in general, because like I said, if they ever made the jump to being able to infect humans that way, that would be absolutely insane. That would.
So I didn't realize that you knew anything about cordyceps.
Yeah, I mean, that would be devastating to the human race. That is literally the basis of The Last of Us, is they're able to make that jump. There's a certain temperature degree where they have to exist to be able to like take over, and they're just not compatible with the human body. But if they were ever able to do that, then you would see people become zombified. It's like those caterpillars that get the parasites that take control over their body, and you don't really have any say in what you do anymore. That's basically what cordyceps do.
I've never heard of any of this. Like, I did not know that this existed on Earth, where you get taken over. You say ants get taken over by mushrooms, and they make them
climb up trees, and then they burst, and then whenever they burst, they grow another one that then spreads the spores and then goes towards more. That's like a whole thing, man. That's a whole thing. Yeah, I mean, parasites, cordyceps, that whole genre of the animal kingdom is absolutely terrifying. It's only not super scary because they don't affect us like that. So to me, it's fucked up that people are just eating them. Like, I think that's how this shit starts. I think in The Last of Us, there's cordyceps that get in the game and in the TV show. They go more into depth in the TV show, but it's through bread, it's through grains, is how they end up like affecting people. And then over time, they become more and more like fungi-like, and they burst out of their bodies, and you become this weird like hybrid mushroom, fucked up zombie thing. Because they take control over your body. Once it's taking control over you, then its whole purpose is to reproduce or create more. So that's the whole purpose of what cordyceps do. Is it's like, so whenever it's doing that, then whenever it releases these things, those release more spores, which then infect more ghost larvae, which then creates more of this shit. So you're watching like a parasitic destructive force destroy a portion of the animal kingdom, and then that's what cordyceps do. So there's an urban legend where there's like mushrooms you could take that would make humans climb trees, and then they would lay down, and then you would spore these things off of your back, and then you would die. You would die. You would basically be dead, but you're under control. You're doing what the cordyceps or what the parasite is telling you to do. So there's a certain type.
I saw the headline of this article. I was thinking like psilocybin mushrooms meets like orgies.
Totally different. Totally separate thing. Psilocybin mushrooms are just fungi. Cordyceps are something that's completely different, which is a parasitic force. So there's this one type of parasite that gets in caterpillars, and they're really crazy because you could see them. And they have these weird little, like, you could see it inside where it's not, you can't see it controlling it, but they have these telltale signs where it's like it's not it's this snail or this slug is no longer in control of what it does, and it makes it climb all the way up onto the tree, so that way a bird eats it, and when the bird eats it, it shits, and when it shits, it re-releases all of these parasites, and then that's how it continues to procreate. So its whole purpose is to survive and make more and more and more of itself and multiply and multiply. They're almost like
Elon Musk.
They're like a cancer. They're like cancer, but it's like
Elon Musk.
It's like contagious cancer that controls your body and then makes you go do what it wants you to do. So you have no longer.
Isn't all cancer contagious?
Kind of like that worm that was in RFK's brain. And it's like, oh, you lose motor functions. Like, that's the type of shit that cordyceps would do to people if they were able to make that leap. But our core body temperature is too hot. So if
he lost motor function because the worm ate his brain.
I know, but what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that that's what it was doing. What I'm saying is losing the ability to control your own motor functions and think for yourself. But our body temperature is too hot for them to survive. I think they need to be somewhere at like 90 to 92 degrees is like the temperature. But our bodies run too hot. So our natural maintained body heat is too hot for cordyceps to ever take control or to do what their function is, which is destroy you, and then reproduce itself. It's a very archaic. They're medieval as fuck, bro. Like, I'm telling you, when we get done with the podcast, go look up.
No, that was enough for me.
These insect cordyceps, they'll fuck you up. You're like, damn, dude, that's crazy. If that ever
you just introduced an entire new concept of terribleness on Earth.
Yeah, they're absolutely terrifying. If they were to jump two people, that would be one of the biggest threats to humanity. Would be cordyceps, if they could actually just survive and incubate inside of our bodies, but they can't, thank God. But if they ever do, there's a whole video game that was based off of it that only people played. Great games. And then it was so realistic. It's like what a realistic zombie apocalypse would look like. That's more probable than like, oh, he fell into a chemical and now he's a zombie. And then if you get bit by him, it spreads the cordyceps. They take over your body, and next thing you know, you become that because you lose motor functions. You're not there anymore. You're like a walking dead zombie.
You hear that, Xi Jinping? Get the boys up in Wuhan. Let's get some cordyceps that can survive 98.7 degrees inside your mouth.
Is it shocking that a bunch of people in the Himalayas are finding some shit that cures everything, and it's worth $136K a pound? And it'll make your dick hard, and it'll cure everything. I mean, we've been hearing about all these magic elixirs and fool's potions for decades, for centuries. Stuff like this has existed. And I'm sure it has some application, but using that in an application for me is a no-go, is an absolute no-go. Nope, I do not want to be patient zero. Keep that zombie fungus shit the fuck away from me. And that's their whole point. So this is kind of spooky, and that's why they say they grow off the back of ghost worms. That's why they literally are saying cordyceps sensor, which grows from the corpse of ghost larvae that inhale its spores. They inhale its spores because it's just walking around. They float through the air, and you're done. That's it. That's all it would take. You'd be done. You'd be infected. They'd get inside your lungs, and then it would take over your body, and next thing you know, you're a zombie. That's the premise of The Last of Us. So I'm not picking this shit up, who's scrubbing it with a toothbrush to make my dick hard. Like, I'll just go get a honey pack from the gas station, bro. Like, what are we talking about here?
See, I don't believe in that shit either.
Me neither, but
I that shit works.
I'm more likely to go get a honey pack than I am to eat some ghost larva mushroom grown out of its back, because it's dead. It's not even alive. But they take that thing is still alive, but it's spreading its spores trying to recreate itself. So cordyceps would take over the world.
Okay. Next article, y'all.
That has fucked that up for you. It's true.
This is from Politico by Jeremy B. White. My governor out here in California, Gavin Newsom, sends prepaid phones, aka burners, to tech CEOs. California's governor has employed an unusual outreach initiative to business leaders. Governor Gavin Newsom is making sure California's business elite can call him maybe. Roughly 100 leaders of state headquartered companies have received a curious package in recent months. A prepaid, inexpensive cell phone, commonly known as a burner for those of you who haven't seen The Wire or Better Call Saul. Programmed with Newsom's digits and accompanied by notes from the governor himself. If you ever need anything, I'm a phone call away, read one note to a prominent tech firm CEO printed on official letterhead along with a hand-scrawled addendum urging the executive to reach out. We agreed to withhold the executive's identity to protect our tipster. It was Newsom's idea, a representative said, and has already yielded some valuable interactions. That arrangement surprised some people Politico spoke with, largely because Newsom is already known as an inveterate texter whose digits live in many business titans' contacts. He's also long been seen as more aligned with business interests than the legislature, the proverbial adult in the room when private pillars like Silicon Valley need a sympathetic ear or a veto. But Newsom wanted to convey that he's intent on maintaining California's competitive edge. Phones are still going out. The California Protocol Foundation picked up the tab. That organization gets money from business and nonprofits for gubernatorial expenses like trips abroad or evidently burner phones, so taxpayers aren't on the hook. It also drew leftover funds from Newsom's inauguration account, which itself drew business, so in a roundabout way, California's private sector helped fund phones, nurturing ties with the private sector. Newsom, good news, bad news. He's running for president, thank God. That's my boy, I want him to do it. He's my leader in the clubhouse unless, somebody comes out and, changes my mind. The other thing is, though, but, now he's got his own podcast, and he's got, Steve Bannon on there and Charlie Kirk, and everybody's like, oh, he's giving them a platform, he's giving them a microphone, oh, he's trying to become, more, appeal more to the MAGA base because he's running for president. I thought he was getting the podcast because he goes on Fox News and talks shit to Sean Hannity's face. He had the debate with Meatball Ron for no fucking reason, just to talk shit to him, that Hannity hosted. I thought he was having Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon on just to talk shit to him, and being no, Democrats aren't going and going toe to toe with these guys, and he's capable, more than capable of doing that. And I thought that's what he was doing. I subscribed to his podcast, but I haven't listened to it yet. But I heard that he was kind of just, he wasn't really challenging either Steve Bannon or Charlie Kirk.
I mean, I think, good news, bad news is a good way to look at it. I think that Newsom is trying, we've seen what happens when you refuse to engage with them in conversation. A Charlie Kirk, a Bannon, these guys live in echo chambers. So the only way you're going to reach out to other people that listen to what those guys have to say is by talking to them. So that's one thing where I'll give Bill Maher credit. Bill Maher's kind of become more of a douchebag as time's gone on.
It's so funny. Every single one of my friends says that to me, and I just, it's tough.
It's true.
I disagree.
I mean,
you have to realize, Bill Maher's been, my boy, more than anybody, in the media, since I was a kid. So, I'm biased, but at the same time...
I've always loved Bill Maher, but he's definitely become outright way more pro-Israel than he gives a shit about the Palestinian people. That's obviously true. In his stance on things and the way he talks about it, very dismissive. And there's...
I disagree. I don't think he's dismissive. I think he's just... frustrated with everybody seems to forget that Israel does have a right to exist.
No one's saying that they don't have a right to exist, but they also don't have a right to commit human rights violations, and giving them a pass while they do is not the answer. That's that's my stance on it. Is we can sit there and talk about.
I think his stance is that between Israel and Hamas, one of them can commit genocide and hasn't, and the other one wants to commit genocide but can't. If you gave Hamas the weapons that Israel had, there would be no more Jews in Israel.
Well, okay, and true, but I mean,
But there's still Palestinians in Gaza.
I mean, not
It
really.
is that's just his argument, and that was his argument, I think, prior to
No, that's been his argument for a while. But as I'd say that time has not looked well upon that stance because we've been watching them actively. We've watched Netanyahu commit war crimes and actively.
Okay, and there's also a difference in supporting Israel and supporting the Israeli government. Just like there's a difference in supporting the United States and supporting the Trump administration.
Then, just like there's a difference between supporting Hamas and supporting innocent Palestinian people. So
Correct.
you can make so like. Anyways, we won't go down that rabbit hole because while we've talked about it before, we have different views on it. I've without us even talking about it, the times that we have are just our take on it is a little bit different. Not that we necessarily disagree wholeheartedly, but I mean I think that our opinions on that we waver a little bit on how we view what Israel's been doing and then what Palestinians, because I can separate Palestinians from Hamas, and I'm not saying that you can't, but I think there is a effort to lump them all in the same barrel, which isn't fair. Just like if we're going to separate Netanyahu and the Israeli government, you can't sit there and say all Israelis are pro the genocide of innocent Palestinians in the hopes of eradicating Hamas. Not everybody supports that, but there are people that are the opposite, that are like just get rid of all of them. It's a mixed bag of people, but I think that what Newsom is trying to do is engage in conversation, not be overly combative when it comes to having certain people like a Charlie Kirk, like a Steve Bannon. If you have them on your platform and all you do is fucking bash them all the time, it's not going to go well. It's just not all those people are going to do is dig their heels deeper in the sand than they already were, and they're not going to budge. So if you're going to actually try to get through to people, you actually have to have some sort of discourse where it's an exchange of ideas and it needs to be a conversation, not an argument, not a finger pointing. Now, when you have Meatball Ron on, or you're going to debate Meatball Ron says some stupid shit, and he's in a big public office. Whenever you're talking about a Charlie Kirk or a Steve Bannon, I mean, those are guys who run their own media companies, have a large platform that they've created with their ideas and with the following that believes in those ideas, so that you're just perpetuating, like you're just making the echo chamber for them louder. I'm not super against him doing this burner phone shit, talking to people for all this goober national shit, because at the end of the day, he's running one of the biggest economies in the world, and if he's gonna enact change and change how things are done in this country or even in the state of California, he has to be able to have healthy discourse and conversation with them. And while some people might be wanting to do that with him, they don't want it necessarily to be just overt public knowledge. They'd rather be talking with him in private, discussing these things, discussing what we could do. Hey, what's going on here? What are y'all planning with this? It's a little back alley, but I don't think that it's as shady as it seems on face value. That's just him trying to play the game in a different way because he's been watching other people play this game and it's not working out well for him. We can't sit here and say that the approach of the Democrats or anybody in an elected office that is a Democrat is the approach that they've had has always been correct, because it's not. I mean, and you see with this echo chamber when someone on the right-hand side, on the right side of the aisle, tries to combat those same people and those ideas when they still share the same core values, it doesn't go well for them either. Ask the Cheneys. Ask Liz Cheney. Didn't go well for her. Like, there's a lot of people that have lost their positions of power, lost their influence in the political spectrum because of the way they talk to their constituents or talk to the opponents. And if you're coming at them all aggressive every single time and they don't think they can just call you and have a conversation, then like that's not going to bode well for you. It didn't bode well last election, didn't bode well the election before last. If anything, it just emboldened everybody. That's why whenever it's like, oh, they're all deplorable, that's a wild statement. Isn't totally false? No. But I mean, is that the right way to have people come greet you at the table and talk with you about it? No. I mean,
well, Hillary Clinton called people who voted for Trump a basket of deplorables. So you can't fucking besmirch the voters when you're asking for their vote.
True, but whenever you're having Steve Bannon on and you're besmirching him to his face on your podcast, those people that vote for Trump view you talking to Charlie Kirk as Steve Bannon, Candace Owens, any of these people, they view it as you besmirching them too because they believe what they're saying. And that's what I'm saying is they become their own little bullhorns for these people where they take it personal. Like there's people right
Okay,
now that are
that's fine, but I mean, I don't like I. It doesn't mean you don't challenge them. But
no,
like, what do you-
I know, no. So what I'm saying is, but to have you can challenge them, but it can be a healthy conversation. It doesn't have to be an argument.
Right,
And I think
mean, I wanna
that's
listen to
Newsom.
it,
That's
like-
Newsom's approach is more that, and you could make a case for Bill Maher that's more of Bill Maher's new approach rather than just calling people stupid because of their ideas. He's going to sit there and talk with them about it. That's why I've always loved like Real Time with Bill Maher or Politically Incorrect, is he had people from all spectrums and they'd sit there and talk. But old Bill Maher would also kind of get on their ass a little bit. And for us, if you're on the left side of the aisle, you're almost dying. We're oozing for that because that's how we feel about some of these ideas or some of these people. And that's not conducive to having a healthy political environment to begin with. That's why we've become so divided, is because of these conversations that aren't happening. So in the divide between the private sector and private industry and the public, we have elected officials that are either so pro the private sector that it's unfathomable, or they're so anti it that they just talk shit about everybody. And you might vote Democrat, but it's like, yo, bro, I work for Nestle. Nestle's like arguably the most evil company that exists in the world, like top 5 most evil companies ever that no one really talks about, but Nestle is so fucked up. But if you sit there and you're going to talk with the owner of Nestle and talk shit about him, there's a whole sect of people across the country that work for them that make Nestle chocolate crunch bars, right? There's you do Nestle water products, do all sorts of stuff that's their job, and they're taking that personal because you're attacking their boss that way. Whether they agree with them or not, they view their livelihood is in jeopardy. Steve, it's genius. These guys, the way they've structured it is they're fucking genius. And if you attack me, like that guy speaks for me. So if you're attacking him, you're attacking me. So fuck you. It's pretty crazy. And it exists way more on the right side of the aisle than the left side, but it does exist on both, but especially the right. So I think Gavin Newsom is trying a different approach to have conversations with people that aren't being had, that most people nowadays refuse to have with these people, right? We all want to sit there and tell Elon Musk to go fuck himself. But if Gavin Newsom had him on his podcast and talked with him about it, he would challenge him in an intellectual type of way where it would be a conversation and it wouldn't be off-putting to you to be like, well, fuck Gavin Newsom. You'd be like, oh, I made a couple points and they had a little chit chat. It's a healthy discourse. It seems odd because we don't do that anymore. So he's trying to like reset the norm for the left, which is smart. I mean, it's smart. The whole thing is smart, in my personal opinion, to be having back alley conversations with these guys who run these companies that help.
The Silicon Valley burner phone thing, like Silicon Valley is a unique thing in the world. So it's like it's not just like a governor of the state having relationships with the business leaders of the state. It's like no. This is like beyond like an industry. Like this is like running not only the state but the world. And so, and like it is important that that they're in contact with him, and not because like he's trying to help big business like over it's like Republicans are giving tax cuts to like rich people and corporations and shit. That like that's not what it is. I think it's just more of like how can we make things work for everybody type shit. So where you're not like going to pack up your shit and go to Texas because you think you're about to get like cheaper taxes, when like we could have just solved this shit had we had a conversation. He's letting you know he's available.
Yeah, as I'm saying, is he's resetting the table on what those conversations would be like, and he happens to have Silicon Valley in his area. But I mean, he'd be doing the same. I think it's the beginning of something that's going to be.
Well, but the podcast is different than the burner phone thing. But then,
but they coincide. They're different, but they're the same because he's having conversations with people that a lot of people on the left don't want to have conversations with. They want to cut them out of the conversation because of who they are and what they believe, or because they're in Silicon Valley and they have these predisposed notions about who these people are. So if I'm going to be sitting there and I'm running for president and we have this healthy relationship and we're having these conversations, they know that Newsom's going to listen to them and they're going to listen to Newsom because they have that healthy communication. Communication's key. I preach it all the time at work. Communication, respect, and accountability are three things. If you don't have those three things, you don't have a team. There's no way you have a team if you can't communicate. Nobody's respectable and nobody's held accountable for shit. It's never going to happen. And it starts with communication, and that's where he's resetting the table on what that might look like for him.
Sort of like a good example of that is during the Cold War, the Soviet Union and the United States, after like the Bay of Pigs, or the Cuban Missile Crisis, they had that's where like the red phone comes from. So we had a open line with the Soviet Union, so we never had a miscommunication again that almost caused the destruction of the planet, because like we didn't like know what the other one was thinking. So even like with our worst enemies, at like the peak of like like the height of the the tension, it's like we still want to be able to talk to them if we need to. Same with China right now, and after the Chinese spy balloon shit, they weren't picking up our fucking phone calls for like a year, and until Biden and Xi Jinping met in like San Francisco. But like that's a fucking problem. Like you can't have like the two biggest like military powers, like superpowers in the world, just like not talking to each other.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Maher had Don Lemon on, and they were talking, and he was like talking shit about the skit with Tom Hanks and the MAGA hat and how he wouldn't shake the black guy's hand. He's like, that's terrible. And Don Lemon's like, nah, man. There's like a big chunk of MAGA that's like pretty fucking racist. And he's like, I disagree. And he's like, well, if they're not racist, that's not a deal breaker for them. But having that healthy discourse and conversation is more important than Don Lemon being like, well, fuck you. I'm not going on Bill Maher because you don't think all the MAGA's racist. You should have a conversation about it. And Gavin Newsom is, like I said, trying to reset the table, and he's smart to do it with one of the most powerful places in the world inside his own state. He'd be stupid to not be having those conversations. But to sit there and say, oh, I got Gavin Newsom's phone number, let me go call Gav from this phone, that might not play well with everybody in Silicon Valley. So giving them a private outlet to have those conversations is important. It's actually pretty mafioso.
Well, smart. You know what? I find it a little bit, this is the parts that I find annoying from the Newsom camp. The fact that we know about it. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, I think...
They're telling us that they sent the burner phones. They want everybody to know that Newsom sent the tech leaders burner phones. It's like, okay, dude.
No, that's a little goofy, but also you'd rather say it now and control the narrative on why you have them than
it's a burner phone. Nobody's supposed to know.
Okay, well, in Newsom's aspect, and he might be overcompensating, but you'd rather have it be known that you're doing it and you divulge that information than have it come out later that he's got all these burner phones going out to everybody. So he has to choose either I don't tell anybody when I'm running for president, this gets thrown in my face later, or I just tell them that I'm doing it and tell them what the fuck I'm up to. I mean, that's where it's like it's catch-22. It's like,
I think he did it so he could announce that he did it.
Well, and maybe that's why he did it. But
like they said, these fools already have his fucking number.
No, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a gesture. It's shades of when Hillary stayed over to Moscow with the fucking red button, the reset button that they were going to push with Russia, circa 2009, 2010. And then, like, mass protests popped off in Russia during the election, and he thought that we fomented it, and then revolution started in Ukraine, and then they invaded Crimea, and all, the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the intent is ill-willed. I think it's just a different play. It's a play that most people aren't doing. He's thinking outside the box when it comes to some of this stuff. So I don't think it's a terrible thing, because if we're going to actually be competitive in the next election and try to fix some of this shit that's already been fucked up in the past 2 months already, there has to be a different approach to the game. So you can't.
And at least he's on it. Like, you know,
he's trying.
Yeah, like exactly. Like he's like, I'm running for president, and I'm thinking about this and how I'm gonna do it, and we're doing it now. And like that's what we need. We don't need this
you can't pussyfoot around it, basically.
Exactly.
Like, and I'd rather him be doing that, and then doing his podcast, having controversial people on that he has a difference of opinions with, and having those healthy discourses. Because if you are a MAGA dude and it's like, oh, Steve Bannon was on Newsom, and all you watch is America First, you're listening to that episode, and maybe you hear something that rings true to you, or maybe you hear something different, because you're not going to tune it out, because he's not just sitting there calling Steve Bannon a gross swamp monster, which is what he is, which is what we would probably call him. That's why we're not running for public office. That's why we're not running for president, because we would probably pop off on a lot of these people. His approach is going to be different. He'll pop off.
At least like two, if not all three of his dress shirts that he wears at one time, the buttons would be popping off.
Yeah, true. The bitch wears layers, man, with a little tactical vest over it. Cracks me up.
So weird.
So I mean, it's not the end. It's not the worst thing in the world. I think it's just getting blown, because now the left is going to be hyper reactive and be like, "Oh my God, he had. Oh my God, I know.
They already are.
Oh my God, I can't believe he'd do that." And that's why he's doing it, is because he's trying to normalize having conversations with people you disagree with, which is
that's the other thing. Is that you can't get these people. You can't normalize these people. It's like
Donald
Trump is the president for the second time. It's normalized.
Yeah, you have to talk to him at this point. You have to sit there and talk with Charlie Kirk, and not be Gavin Newsom's not some kid on campus who's trying to prove some point on a microphone when Charlie Kirk's just like spouting off wild ass statistics, right? Like, you're actually gonna have to sit there, and he's gonna be challenged with his ideas by somebody who's just as, if not more smart than he is. That should be a healthy discourse. You can't stoop down to the level of some people and just continue to do it, because if you go out there and you're just raging and you go yell at Charlie Kirk at like UT campus when he's got some little tent propped up, like, you're playing into what he wants. He's not used to being challenged on his ideas, followed up by facts by somebody intelligent. It's somebody with a half-baked idea showing up, trying to prove a point, get a gotcha moment, and he's sitting there waiting on it. He traps people. He lures you in. You're not going to trap Gavin Newsom like that. He'll sit down and talk with you. And I'd rather that. Or you can call him and ask him a question about some bill that's about to be passed, and he'll be real and direct and straight up with you and let you know. And he'll be, hey man, like, look, we don't like that. This is how it's going to affect us. He's going to hear more from that person in private about what the ramifications are for Silicon Valley or for whoever this person is in private than he is. He's never going to know what it is if he just sits there and bashes them. They're just going to walk away and do the opposite and be like, fuck that guy. And we can't be in the business of having everybody walk around being like, fuck that guy, if we're gonna ever be able to get back to some semblance of normalcy. So I mean, shout out Newsom for doing that in the first place, just because it's a different approach.
Okay, next article. This one is from USA Today by Josh Meyer. Trump releases classified files on JFK assassination. Here's what they said. President Donald Trump's administration on Tuesday released what it said were all of government's classified files on the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy, making tens of thousands of pages of unredacted records available to the public for the first time. The release of the files comes after Trump signed a Day 1 executive order in January aimed at fully releasing government documents related to the assassination of Kennedy, his brother, and presidential candidate RFK, and civil rights icon Martin Luther King Jr. The contents of the documents and whether any previously unreleased information is in them wasn't immediately clear. Historians quickly said they would need time to assess the flood of files to understand if they were significantly different from previous releases. The documents were not expected to change the long-held findings that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in assassinating Kennedy on November 22, 1963, while the then president rode in a motorcade in Dallas, Texas. Looking to read the JFK files for yourself, you can find them on the National Archives website. Some JFK documents reference Oswald, KGB. Some of the documents played down Oswald's Soviet connection in the mid-20th century, One dated November 1991 cited a report from an American professor named E.B. Smith, who reported he had talked in Moscow about Oswald with KGB official Slava Nikonov, who said he had reviewed 5 thick files about the assassin to determine if he had been a KGB KGB agent. Nikonov is now confident that Oswald was at no time an agent controlled by the KGB, Smith reported. Some of the documents also include references to various conspiracy theories suggesting that Oswald left the Soviet Union in 1962, intent on assassinating the popular young president. Department of Defense documents from 1963 covered the Cold War of the early 1960s and the U.S. involvement in Latin America, trying to thwart Cuban leader Fidel Castro's support of communist forces in other countries. The documents suggest that Castro would not go so far as to provoke a war with the United States or escalate to the point that would seriously and immediately endanger the Castro regime. It appears more likely that Castro might intensify his support of subversive forces in Latin America, the document reads.
I mean, no, man. I mean, he was totally a Russian agent. No doubt. I mean, a CIA-style KGB Russian agent. Left, goes to Russia, comes back. I mean, there's a lot of people. You could look up Howard E. Hunt. He's been allegedly attached to this, but Howard E. Hunt was arrested in Watergate later. Total spook, a CIA spook. I mean, from what I understand, nothing that we don't already know or what people have already kind of known about this has been re-released in these files. A lot of it is information that's already been previously released, so it's not anything that's like super grandioso. And at the end of the day, if it was CIA that killed JFK or KGB sleeper agents inside the American government that killed him, we're never going to know. They're never going to say anything. It's the same with the Epstein files, and they're like, oh, we can't release everything because it'd be a threat to national security. Why is that? Is that because Donald Trump's mentioned like 96 times in the Epstein files that are redacted? Like, get the fuck out of here. They're never going to tell us everything that happened with JFK. They're more likely to tell you what happened with Martin Luther King so they can run a smear campaign and be like, he was a womanizer and he was on... Yeah, he was getting some puss, whatever. It's not our business. But at the end of the day, I don't think they're ever going to really tell us what happened, because if they did, that would probably blow up in our country's face. Period. If it came out that the American government was responsible for JFK being killed, and they knew that, and they had documents on that, they would never release that shit. They would never release that shit. Ever. No, they wouldn't.
Well, by law they have to. And yeah, that's just how it is. It's like after a certain period of time, like all that shit gets released. But so you're saying
that's like if the moon landing was fake and they knew it was fake and it was shot.
Totally I think that's different.
And it was shot, and there were some files like we're going to release all the files on the moon landing, but they knew it was fake. They wouldn't. Then why would they tell the world that they faked the moon landing just to win the space race and stick it to the Soviets?
They wouldn't, because that still matters.
And if the government killed JFK, that still matters. Absolutely. Yes, that does.
No, it doesn't.
Why doesn't it matter?
Because
our government killed their own president.
Because we're still going to space.
But I'm saying our government killed our own president. That wouldn't be. That would be detrimental.
No, that would. It's not. Yeah. It's like it's like how we like assassinated fucking like leaders down in Latin America and shit. It's like doesn't look good, but like we basically eventually told everybody that we did that and we fucked up and blah blah blah. It's like Nixon negotiating with the Vietnamese not to like end the fucking war until he gets in office because they'll get a better deal. Doesn't make him look good. Some would say that's treasonous.
Yeah, but I mean, he's already. But after he,
I'm saying so if like there's dudes in the CIA who decided that they gotta like clip JFK because he's fucking Marilyn Monroe, who's fucking Fidel Castro, and that's a problem. Oh, and he's taking too many fucking back pain medications, or it's the mob, and in RFK Jr., the Attorney General is like cracking down too hard, whoever it was. I think that we can admit to that, but like to say that we lied about the moon, it's like, well, that calls into like all of our technological advances that are going on now, in the past, and moving forward. Assassinating presidents, like, well, okay, well,
No, that's arguably more egregious.
it's egregious that it happened. It's not like it wouldn't be like affect what's happening in contemporary society
No,
today.
because that's like with George, George Senior being president. He's like he had no ties when he became CIA director, and that's why he was a great CIA director. But George Bush Senior was a fucking CIA spook, and he ran Zapata Oil, which was had a spot off the island outside of Cuba where they all got together and hung out before they went and did the Bay of Pigs to begin with. That's where they all convened. Was at an island that was owned by George Bush. He ran Zapata Oil, and but he had nothing to do with the CIA. He was a CIA spook before he became CIA director. But they propped him up like he had nothing to do with the CIA, and that's why he's going to be great. Is he's going to clean it the fuck up when he'd been working with the CIA for years as like a liaison for them. So that's a fucking lie. They can't sit there and admit that he was doing that and he had something to do with it, because then that puts into question everything that he did. If the government killed JFK and was responsible for him being murdered, you question the whole timeline from that moment to today. You can't not. You can't not.
Well, I guess it depends, like when we said the government, like who the fuck it was.
Exactly, but if it's
Like if it was Lyndon B. Johnson like cooking the shit up, if it was the CIA on their own, if it was whatever, like that's I guess so the context I think matters.
no, the context matters, but at the end of the day, if that context looks bad on federal government agencies and people within the government, not just a couple CIA dudes who want to get a job done because they got an axe to grind because somebody's fucking somebody and somebody's fucking somebody else. If it's more than that in that context, that's very detrimental. That changes the whole perception. You question the whole timeline from that moment to now.
Okay, well JFK also, his daddy was like stuffing ballot boxes like out in like Chicago and stole the election from Richard Nixon. You
Yeah,
know that.
but Nixon became
And Nixon
famous.
said, Nixon was
But Nixon got propped up by Prescott Bush, who was running a bank in New York, got shut the fuck down because he was laundering and dealing in Nazi gold. Like that's a fact. And then he got shut the fuck down, walked away with a bunch of money, found a bag boy from the fucking northeast New England states, and decided that he liked this guy and wanted to prop him up on his political career, and that's why we have Richard Nixon in the first place.
Richard Nixon's from Sacramento, California.
Oh, sorry, California. But found somebody who was like, hey, I really like this dude. I think he'd be great for politics.
You're Belinda.
And he's props him up and uses his money.
You're Belinda.
He used.
Well, whatever. Okay.
I'm just saying that's all factual. That's real. So what I'm saying is, if you go all the way back, Prescott Bush, George Bush, then we don't have the goofy Bush years, 9/11, Patriot Act, all of that shit doesn't happen if at one point a former Nazi banker, gold launderer, doesn't get caught and then chooses to then prop up Nixon and be one of his biggest political supporters in his beginning of his political career, because that's fact. That's 100% fact that happened. And then his son is involved roundabout way in Bay of Pigs and all this goofy shit with Cuba while all of this stuff's going on with JFK. Like that's not conspiracy stuff. That's just real. And if you look at all these players that are involved, they're still major players in politics today. Like it dwindled off over time. I mean, it ended with Jeb Bush. I mean, talk about a fucking drop in the pan, boring ass dude. But I mean, you think about it, like on a timeline, on a spectrum, that would be detrimental. There's no way to slice it where it doesn't make America look full of shit. That's just like right now, if Donald Trump is in these Epstein files, they'll never release him unredacted because that makes us look like shit.
No, it doesn't. Donald Trump on a fucking hourly basis makes us look like shit, dude. Are you fucking kidding me?
True.
And the Epstein files aren't nothing like. Trump wasn't president when he was on Epstein's plane. It has nothing to do with the United States government. It's a fucking private citizen sex ring operator, dude. Like it being like bad for our national security is insanity. And like we already know about it. Like, what do you mean? How many pictures do I need to see of like Trump with Epstein? Like
Well,
before.
but because we have pictures of them together and those are easy to pass away. But if you get into the nitty gritty of it and there comes out some stuff, that's like saying, oh, okay, well, like Mace was with Puffy and Mace isn't a bad dude. But if it came out that Mace is hanging out at Puffy parties and doing all sorts of wild shit, I bet you him and Cameron's podcast ends pretty quick. And our personal opinions of a lot of other people around them completely changes. It completely changes the entire picture of all of these people. Right now, you have the plausible deniability. They can deny because you don't have all the facts. That's why they're able to deny it, because you don't know. And
Okay, but we have all the facts when it comes to Trump. We know who Trump is.
But we don't. But we
know who Epstein is. We know what we. If Epstein's got some strange pussy that Trump can sexually assault, he's good to go.
Well, it's the same. So it's the same with Bill Clinton. If it comes out in these files that Bill Clinton was doing all this wild shit while he was president, or while he was even governor of Arkansas, that throws so much doubt across the table that it makes it different. It's like the glove don't fit, you must acquit type shit. There was OJ.
So you're telling me that you don't think that this is all the files that were really that?
No, I don't think so. I think it's the same shit that we've known before. I don't think that until there's something that's earth-shattering that we don't know about it, because it's still good.
Until they come out with a fucking crazy conspiracy theory explanation, then
it's to me it's Occam's razor, and the most probable outcome is the outcome whenever there's all the other ones are exhausted. It is not probable for somebody that the Russian and the KGB are saying is a horrible shot is sitting in the observatory room of a library. The fact that they know
whether he's a good shot or not is a problem.
Well, because that's a problem too, and he disappears to Moscow, comes back, commits this crime, shoots these shots in quick succession, or the magic bullet theory that one bullet went through him and went through this dude and bounced off his wrist, and then we found it on the gurney in the hospital in perfect condition. Get the fuck out of here. That's the most like lazy shit. No one would believe that shit now. They would then, but nobody would believe that shit now. There's no way you could sell that idea if that happened today. Couldn't sell it. You couldn't sell that idea to anybody. Nobody would believe it. It's not probable. The likelihood of that happening is so slim. I mean, there's been all sorts of tests where they got people up there trying to shoot the same gun in the same quick succession and hit these shots, and they're like, there's no way you could, and I'm a crack shot. That'd be really hard to do. And this dude's a bad shot, and he got both of those shots off, back and to the left. Get the fuck out of here, dude. There's no way. There's absolutely no fucking way you could do that. And then all the people, his Secret Service that always runs along the side of the car, just disappears on the motorcade and just stops following him. So he's just completely exposed for that brief moment in time. I mean, I've driven that road all the time. It's like not that far. It's in Dallas. And there's just no way that it's just him by himself. Even if he did do all of the shots by himself, there's no way he acted alone on that. Or Jack Ruby shooting Robert F. Kennedy, and then Sirhan Sirhan shooting him after that, and then they're like, oh yeah, man, he was just out of his mind. That dude's not in prison. He's not in prison anymore.
Dude, he's like fucking bitches.
He's not in prison anymore.
I know. Sirhan is out and like he is
living it.
Ready, ladies.
But what I'm just saying is that in itself is bullshit. So the guy who shot him got shot on national TV, and then the guy who shot him, they're like, he wasn't acting under his own devices. What was he, a sleeper agent, mind control, fucking Manchurian Candidate type shit? I mean, that movie's old as fuck. That's an old-ass movie, which is the whole thing of programming assassins. There's all sorts of goofy shit surrounding it that they'll never tell us all the facts, because if we did, I think as a society and the world would be horrified at what they actually heard, what they knew about. Just like if we knew everything that Kennedy had going on and all of the issues that he had going on, it'd be fucked up. People would be like, damn, that guy actually wasn't this fighter for human rights anti this and anti that, anti secret societies and anti these puppets, and all the weird speeches he gave before talking about these conspiracy theories that are surrounding him all the time, and bad actors in government and in government agencies. He openly talked about that shit in speeches all the time, and then the dude gets capped, and it's just one dude who came back from Russia who was just very passionate about killing this popular president. No, man. Some dude dipped, came back and shot the president. If Snowden came back from Russia and tried to kill a president, you could not convince people that he wasn't influenced by the Russian government. You couldn't. You'd be like, no, he totally was. Even if he said he wasn't, and he lived to tell us he wasn't, you wouldn't believe him. There's no way. I just felt like I needed to do it. You'd be like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Who helped you? Because that's wild to pull that off. Is crazy. That's wild.
Well, I think that's why that people are so convinced it's conspiracy theory, because that they just can't wrap their head around this dude fucking pulled that off.
And the people that are surrounding him are like, no, there's no way. It's not just American citizens. It's the KG.
Okay, but some people said that too about Trump's first assassin.
But nobody, but we don't know. We don't know shit about that guy. But they also try to throw doubt in it because he was kind of like a MAGA dude, anyways. So it was like kind of goofy and weird, and then he misses and all that goofy shit. So I mean, hit a couple people behind him, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's all of the documents. I don't think we'll ever know the full story because they don't want us to know the full story. They wouldn't want us to. And I'm not saying it's some big grandiose conspiracy. Could have been two dudes. Could have been him and one other guy, but they're not going to tell us. They need to push that narrative that it was one guy, because that's going to satiate the masses and make you feel sad for it. Maybe he got shot and he was doing some shady shit on the side, and that's why they killed him, because he was going to plan something that was terrible and would destroy America. They still wouldn't tell you that. They can't. They don't want you to lose that image of what JFK was, that beacon that he was to this country. They don't. The dude who fought for civil rights, stood next to black people. That would be devastating. That would be absolutely devastating for the American legacy, to know that we killed somebody who was fighting for equal rights, and the government actively chose to kill somebody fighting for equal rights. It's not like Lyndon B. Johnson was all pro. He just pushed through all the shit that he was trying to do to be like, all right, because Lyndon B. Johnson was a douche.
He was also had the hots for Jackie O.
Yeah.
And whenever that day he got assassinated and Lyndon B. Johnson became the president, he saw her at the hospital or something, and he's like, Madam President, can I do anything for you? And she's like, no, can I do anything for you, Mr. President? And then a couple years later, Lyndon B. Johnson got all drunk and called her, and at night she's like, hello, and he's like, Jackie, I love you, and would drunk dial her and shit.
Yeah, I mean, he's a piece of shit, but he gets a lot of credit.
He also shit with the door open in the White House and talked to people.
But he gets a lot of credit because he passed through a bunch of legislation that he wasn't necessarily pro in the first place. It just would have been a bad look to be like, nah. That's almost like we gotta do this, because if we don't, that's gonna look bad. I mean, I'm just saying the whole thing is shady until something comes out in these 10,000. I will wait to hear. I'm not reading 10,000 documents, but I'll wait till I get a synopsis on what it is. But if they don't expect it to change anything of the narrative, then what are we talking about? It's just the same.
I find that weird. It's we haven't really looked through these 10,000 documents, but it's not going to change anything.
So that makes
pick one. Either did you read it and it's not changing anything, or you didn't read it and you don't have any.
So it just makes you pause. You're like, that's you see what I'm saying? And that's where it's if with something like that, if you're giving me 10,000 documents and you're saying something like that, and I still pause, I just don't believe you. I can't. I'm not that stupid. I'm not saying that other people are, but I'm way too skeptical of what the government tells me to begin with, especially that era of the government when CIA spooks are everywhere. We got MK Ultra, which is real, where they were trying to brainwash people. I mean, shit. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, is is a product of the MK Ultra and a product of trying to psychologically fuck with people when he was in Ivy League schools. That's why he hated the government. That's why he hated it, because he was like, what the fuck are these guys doing? I hate all this technocratic bullshit and the direction that this government's heading, so I'm going to become the Unabomber. But he went to Ivy League school and was given like drugs, LSD, put in all these crazy high-stress situations to try to fuck with all these Ivy League kids. That's a fact. I know. So I'm just saying. So I anything that comes out of that era, I just don't trust it. That's like arguably the most untrustworthy time in government, especially when it came to the CIA, the FBI, all the wild shit that they were doing, because they were doing some wild ass shit. Period. And that's why today people have issues like, we gotta defund the CIA and rip up the FBI. There's some boomers that are like, fuck yeah, because they don't believe that shit either, and they feel like they've been lying to them their
that used to
entire
be a
lives.
liberal fucking cause, and then now somehow it's like somehow the Democrats are out here trying to defend the fucking feds. It's like what happened? Like we used to like be the ones, you know. It's like Republicans are like the police state.
There's some stuff that you could grab onto and be like, hey, that's fucked up what they're doing. Like, hey, 2 private text messages between 2 FBI agents talking shit about Donald Trump. Come on. Like, now you're pushing it, but when it comes, like, is that was a whole thing when there were those 2
but dude, the FBI is like run by they're all Republicans.
I know. That's what, but then we're gonna go after them because they talk shit about the president and it's some big grandioso conspiracy. It's like, nah, bro. They texted they were just talking shit about you. But some of this old stuff that's led to us to being where we are today, I don't think they'll ever tell us everything. Because if they do, they'll look shitty. They'll all those agencies will be destroyed. They'll crumble.
No.
I love when we disagree.
The Wall Street Journal. Putin agrees to pause attacks on Ukraine energy infrastructure in call with Trump, by Alan Cullison, Alexander Ward, and Alexander Osipovich. The 2 leaders say they will keep working toward a longer-lasting peace plan Trump has pushed for since taking office. This is all bullshit. Just let me preface it. Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed to limited ceasefire against Ukraine's energy infrastructure during a phone call with President Trump on Tuesday, but remained resistant to longer-lasting peace plan pushed by the U.S. president since his election. The ceasefire is the first tangible concession from Russia won by Trump in his campaign for a peace deal, in which he has mainly pressured Kyiv for concessions. For the Kremlin, Trump has dangled the enticement of improved relations and an end to its international isolation. We agreed to an immediate ceasefire on all energy and infrastructure with an understanding that we will be working quickly to have a complete ceasefire and ultimately an end to this very horrible war between Russia and Ukraine, Trump posted Tuesday to social media. We will hopefully, for the sake of humanity, get the job done. By the way, not even like an hour later, fucking Russia hit a fucking power plant like in Ukraine.
Yeah, they're full of shit.
The Kremlin said in a statement that Trump presented a proposal for Ukraine and Russia to cease strikes on energy infrastructure facilities for 30 days. Vladimir Putin responded positively to this initiative and immediately gave the Russian military the corresponding command. More talks are being scheduled, blah, 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 blah. Horseshit.
Yeah, I just don't know how we're having conversations about peace when the people that are being invaded aren't discussing it with them. That's like the dumbest shit ever.
Yeah, like this, like they're like literally the word Trump talked about, or either Trump or his people were talking about yesterday before the fucking meeting, was that they were going to talk about like dividing up assets. Okay, what? It's like,
I think they're just treading water. I mean, you see the amount of money.
That's what the Russians are.
Yeah, you see the amount of money that the EU and just Europe as a whole is willing to commit. They have tons of frozen assets from Russians, like hundreds of millions of dollars. They've
Billions.
They have like
it's something on the line of like $500 billion. So they're already taking the interest earned on that money. It's like frozen foreign reserves that were in European banks and the United States. We froze them all. They've been taking the interest earned and giving it to Ukraine, but they could just take it all And like, there's just like people are like, I don't know, it's such a bad precedent. It's like, hey, dickwad, don't invade your fucking neighbor, and we won't take your money.
Yeah, it's dumb. We're watching me and my neighbor are having a feud, a land dispute over the property line. So I'm going to go talk to the guy across the street and we're going to figure this out. But I'm not talking to my neighbor. You can't be there. But me and the guy across the street, we're going to figure this shit out. You just wait. I'll let you know what we decide. Get the fuck out of here. It's all smoke and mirrors. Delay, delay, delay. At the end of the day, I mean, I think if Ukraine has the funding, Ukraine's going to be able to defend themselves. We've seen that the Russian army is trash, and everybody's kind of like rolling their eyes at them, and they're not that spooked out. That's also why Europe and the EU are like, oh, fuck yeah, like, let's go. Like, okay, you don't want to give them money? We'll give them money, because it's more in their best interest to begin with to actively be combating this and be involved in that fight. And I think that, I mean, you could see Ukraine join NATO and us have nothing to do with it. If we leave NATO, then why not?
Okay, well, we're not leaving NATO.
Why not? We talk about it all the time. Donald Trump.
We don't Donald Trump.
Well, I know.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Isn't it crazy though? Like, so, like, this is not true, but Putin's whole fucking reason was, for invading Ukraine was because NATO was creeping up on their border, and Ukraine was talking about getting into NATO, and they had to prevent that. Bullshit. Putin just read a bunch of fucking weird history blogs like during the pandemic, and then like got this idea that Ukraine wasn't like a real country, and that he had to be like a great czar and like get the Russian Empire back, and so that's what all this shit is. And he's just using the NATO shit as an excuse, because it's like, bro, we already said that Ukraine could go into NATO, I think like fucking 15 years ago, and we gave them a pathway. It's in Ukraine's constitution, that they're gonna be a part of NATO. I think, like, unless I'm thinking of a different country, and same with Georgia. And so Putin wants both of those things to be like reversed. But it's crazy because since the war, we added 2 more countries to NATO, Finland and Sweden, and then now Trump's like, he's like, the NATO countries need to pay their dues to NATO. First of all, nobody pays any fucking dues to NATO. There is no dues, bitch. You just, all that we ask is that you take 2% of your GDP and spend it on your own military. That's all that is. And now you have Poland, who spends like 4 or 5% of their GDP when we're asking for 2. And then you're gonna have fucking British and French and German troops in Ukraine, and South Koreans, dude. Like this sucks for you, dude. So all of Europe is like, Germany like doubled their military spending. All of them are like spending more on their military. All of them are like more and more committed to this. NATO's never been stronger if you take the Trump part out, and Putin's lost. They're gonna hit 900,000 casualties this month, but it's probably like even more than that, dude.
Yeah.
And when they were fighting in Afghanistan in the 80s in a quagmire, and they lost like 27,000 troops or something like that, the fucking mothers of Russia marched on Moscow and put an end, and they fucking ended the war because of the pressure that the mothers of Russia like put on the Kremlin at the time. And if you're telling me that there's 1 million motherfuckers dead, that's 1 million families, like, that this isn't gonna cause problems for you, dude. Like everybody, oh, Putin's winning, dude. He's strong. He's winning. No, he's not. When you're losing 2,000 people a day, you got to put fucking North Koreans to go fight the Ukrainians who invaded your country. They're fighting them in Kursk, on Russian territory. Like you got problems, dude.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, North Korean army, not that scary. Just not.
No, they're like emaciated.
They'd be like shocked that, like, oh my god, we have what's a McDonald's? Like, they'd be shocked at some of the stuff they just saw, because I feel like the shock and all. I mean, I bet you they have a lot of defectors too, who show up and just bolt, like, get the fuck out of there. Like, yeah, I'll go to the front lines, bye, and then just run away.
But they're also brainwashed. It's like, if they get captured, and their families are at risk in North Korea, so because they're trained to not to kill themselves before they get captured. So like Ukraine captured two North Korean soldiers, and they're not saying who they are, so like so that their families are like okay, but like it's crazy like the and they didn't even know where the like that they were going like where they were going.
Oh, I doubt they did. It's not like they'd fucking tell them. Don't tell them shit.
Right.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're watching two big worlds. We're watching. So now you're using North Korea, who's like, oh, our superpower military, in our country that's the size of like Mississippi or whatever the fuck it is. It's not that big. And then Russia, I mean, they're kind of laughing stocks when it comes to the military world. So now, like, as are a bunch of Aussies, like, oh fuck yeah, we'll go fight in Ukraine. Yeah, they are. They're not. They're less scared of Russians than they ever
Well, they're not
were.
going to go fight. They're going to be peacekeepers. They're basically going to be there so that Russia doesn't like co- like try to like reinvade or
No, no, I know. I'm just saying, like, there's
but
not.
yeah.
They're more likely to be agreeable to go do that when they see that they're getting pwned. Like, right? Like, I mean, okay, like,
Right, but Russia,
I'll fight that kid. Like,
but it's a non-starter for Russia for having like NATO troops or troops from NATO countries in Ukraine. But shout out our boy Emmanuel Macron, the president of France. He goes, Ukraine's a sovereign nation. It's not up to Russia whether or not they want our European troops in their country. They don't get like they're not at the fucking table to decide that. You know.
yeah, exactly.
Like it's like just because like Trump takes his marching orders from Putin doesn't mean like we all do.
So, and maybe in that sense, it's good because you're seeing people like take that jump and do what they need to do to step up. Like I said, there's like on the world stage, Russia is less intimidating than they were 6 years ago.
Like
They're less intimidating.
yes and no. Like yes, less worried about their actual military capabilities, but more worried about their aggression, their belligerence, and their willingness to use nukes. Because there was like a like there was like a period in the war where like the United States was actually kind of a little bit worried about nukes because like Russia updated their nuclear doctrine and basically what they were saying is like if they were about to like go through a catastrophic collapse on the battlefield in Ukraine, that they would use tactical nukes, and I was like, well, that's we're kind of working towards a catastrophic collapse of the Russian army, which would lead to them using nukes, and we are trying to like prevent them from using nukes. So it was like a really tricky situation.
Yeah. I'm on the next article right now. It's prebiotic, not probiotic. Damn. Wah, wah, wah.
Okay, yeah, final article, and I just wanted to throw this in there because
They're from
who knows,
Texas.
maybe Mark Cuban from Shark Tank might be our next prez. From Market Watch by Steve Gelsey. Pepsi will pay $1.7 billion for a soft drink company that got its start on Shark Tank. PepsiCo said Monday will pay about $1.7 billion for a soft drink company that built up a social media following after being featured on Shark Tank as the beverage giant works to appeal to millennials and Gen Z for healthier offerings. PepsiCo plans to tap into Poppy's positioning as a better-for-you soda company offering prebiotic drinks with less than 5 grams of sugar per serving. Poppy was launched by husband and wife team Steven and Allison Ellsworth in Austin, Texas in 2020. What originally started as a homebrewed concoction quickly became a farmer's market favorite turned Shark Tank investment and is now available at major retailers nationwide. The drink at the Ellsworth, initially called Mother, features ingredients aimed at improving gut health, such as apple cider vinegar. The guy that it was like the guest host that was the shark that invested. Um, shit, what was his name? I pulled it up earlier, but he got in on. He was like working for Vitamin Water early, and then he was like a part of like the marketing team and sold it to Coke for kind of like I think the same money. It's like 1.7 billion, and then Coke made him their chief marketing officer, and he was the shark that got in on this deal. He's like just crushed beverages, like so it's just like weird that he was on the show. Maybe they did it on purpose, and they brought a fucking beverage, on there. He made the deal for $400,000. He's gonna get 25% stake, so he's gonna get 400 million. That's 1,000x return on that shit, dude. Is that the best? Is that the best deal ever in Shark Tank?
It's one of them, but I mean, we've already talked about the best one.
What?
The NBA TV rights deal.
No, but that's not on Shark Tank.
Well, not on Shark Tank, but yeah, that's true.
No, I'm talking about like who.
No, this is probably the best deal on Shark Tank.
Be, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's cool. The soda game, the beverage game is really hard to crack into because it's so set in stone, and you have these. But being bought up by Pepsi, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Honestly, it doesn't get any better than that. And it's healthy, which is the kind of the direction where everybody's trying to go with that stuff. I've had them. It's not really my jam. Give me my sugars. But I don't even really. I don't even really drink soda like that to begin with. But I mean, shout out! It's nice to see somebody from Shark Tank making a fuck ton of money off something like that. That's really cool. Honestly, that's pretty badass. Talk about coming up out of the pandemic too. God damn, boy.
Seriously.
Like, talk about coming out of the pandemic on fucking top. But hell yeah, I mean. That's going to help Pepsi's stock. What, they're down 1.55% right now.
After the announcement. But that happens. Like, sometimes when there's an acquisition, it's, you don't necessarily get a pop, like, from the stock because, I don't know, it's like, because it costs money and then investors.
Yeah, you're absorbing stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, good for them. That's pretty badass, though. So go out and drink a poppy. Pulled it up. Ophiocordyceps unilateralis fungus, known as the zombie ant fungus, which normally infects insects. While the show depicts it's taking over humans, in reality it's unlikely to affect us due to our higher body temperature and immune systems. But the host is either insects or ants. The mechanism: the fungus manipulates the ant's behavior, causing it to climb to a high location where the fungus can thrive and reproduce, eventually bursting from the ant's head and re-releasing spores.
And I pulled it up. On December 23rd, the day before Christmas Eve, Tesla shares were worth $462.
Damn.
Today they're worth $225.
Oh, 225. Oh, that dropped down to like 222 at some point today.
It did. That was the low. So it's at 225. Yeah, 462. So that, my friend, is cut in more than half.
Yeah, I was just talking about since January, it's dropped like 36% or something crazy like that.
Yep.
So it's
the way down. It's no longer a $1 trillion cap company. Only $700 billion.
That's still a lot of money.
Gross.
But that's a lot of money, and he's obsessed with that. So that's gonna make him like go tight butthole for sure.
So remember, I was talking about the price to earnings ratio. Like Nvidia is like 40 or 50 or something, right? That which is their price compared to their earnings. It's the ratio. Tesla, all the computers. 109 times. You're paying 109 times what Tesla's earnings are for their stock. That's how much, like, the company's valued 109 times what they earn.
That's crazy.
Are they growing at 109% clip, dude? I don't think so.
No, definitely not. Not now, for sure. I mean, I might buy some, but that's what they're saying is be careful shorting Tesla right now. They're like, people.
Obviously, I've been saying short Tesla since like before I got into the stock market, dude. Like, I was wrong. Like, they can be dumb longer than I can be solvent.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good way to put it, actually. Another good one. Another 2-hour 45 with a 20-minute wait time because you were playing poker, but we got two bangers back to back, some long ones. Shout out Ukraine moving up the rankings.
Oh yeah. Ukraine, way up. I was really excited about South Africa moving up, and all of a sudden Ukraine just leapfrogged them.
Like if y'all are listening to us on the front lines, hold it down.
Or if you were Zelensky. Oh man, I had like a good Zelensky one day. Now I'm like trying to find it again. I wear the. But you remember he was saying like I'll wear the costume when he was asking him why are you wearing the suit in the
Yeah.
fucking White House. Costume is the word for suit in Russia.
I believe it.
But I still think he was fucking with him. And he was like, yeah, I'll wear the costume, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure. He's just like, okay, dude. Okay, you big orange buffoon.
Maybe I wear Maybe I wear a nicer one than you.
He's like, do I need to wear my diaper like you as well, Donald?
JD, there it is. JD.
Got
Zelensky's just like pounding Newports with like a Barack out back.
right. That'd be awesome. Brock's just like,
Oh yeah.
he's like, it's all a conspiracy, man. Or he's like, do you want to see my real birth certificate? We're like, oh shit, dude. Oh shit.
When they go low,
We get high.
we go high.
When they go low, we get higher. Let's go. You want to
meditate, bitches.
make sure y'all like, follow, subscribe, and as always, live your best lives. We appreciate you guys checking us out. Shout out, like I said, shout out Ukraine for cranking up those rankings. We appreciate it. It's always fun. I'm sure some crazy shit's gonna happen.
And shout out New Caledonia.
yeah, New Caledonia.
Fucking island outside of Australia. Like I know where my go bag is headed. You know, when I'm going to exile.
That's pretty tight. Like that was, I was like, where is this? That's badass.
We're getting refugee visas, bro.
Let's go, dude. But no, make sure y'all just like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment or something. We really appreciate y'all checking us out. As always, be good, be safe, stay focused, stay strong, stay off drugs if that's what you want to do. And as always, go fuck yourselves.
Every now and then when
Yeah,
I
man.
feel a bit buggy,
Recording stopped.
flow man, I need a new ruggy. Scratch out, get some beers and get chuggy. Nah, man, I know what I need, some more Man Huggie. Oh, Man Huggie. Some more Man Huggie. Put your headphones on for proper